Yeah. Okay, I'd like to call the joint board meeting between Western Lane Fire and EMS Authority, Scioto Valley Fire and Rescue, and Western Lane Ambulance District to order. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Holly, can you do roll call, please?
Yes. SVFR directors, Director Polisi.
Here.
Director Spade.
Here.
Director Burns.
Yes, here.
Director Mendolia. Director Heppel.
Present.
Western Lane directors, Director Webb.
Here.
Director Murphy.
Here.
Director Russell.
Here.
Director Holbrook.
Here.
Director Buss.
Here.
And then the WLFEA directors, Director Polisi.
Here.
Director Murphy.
Here.
Director Spade.
Here.
Director Russell.
Here.
And
okay,
let the record show that Director Mendolia has just joined the meeting.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Everybody's here. We do have quorums for all districts. We'll move into public comments. I believe we have one person who is signed up, Mr. Farnsworth. You have 3 minutes. You're ready to go at any time.
Thank you, Chief. Greetings, directors. Tonight, I thought I would discuss the LifeMed program. Some of you new directors may not realize that this program operates at a loss. Each year, the district has training and program expenses that are a relatively small portion of the annual LifeMed budget. These expenses are easily captured using the QuickBooks software. The biggest expense to LifeMed, however, is the waiver of ambulance charges for members of LifeMed. Because the district forgives these revenues and doesn't collect them from patients, it isn't a check or a bill that the district pays like payroll or utilities. It is nonetheless an expense to the district. The total amount written off for patients creates a loss each year, every year in the LifeMed budget. As a result, taxpayer funds are and have been used to cover the losses, basically a backdoor subsidy of this insurance type program. Funds move back and forth from the bank accounts of the district, and without the subsidy from taxpayers, the program would be unsustainable. The balance sheet and accounts of the district reflect these funds. For the sake of better understanding, directors asked Dina to prepare this LifeMed analysis report, which she's done very well. It shows the true picture of the losses in each period. As you can tell from the email that I sent you, in each period, there has been a loss ranging from $3,160 to $21,017. In the period matching our fiscal year, the loss was $13,645. This is a direct subsidy of taxpayer money to the LifeMed program. As you may know, these LifeMed funds are public funds of the district and may not be used for a PAC or for political campaigns. I noticed that there is no line item in the current LifeMed budget for a PAC campaign. Almost all of the promotion and advertising line item funds have been used, leaving only about $2,700 for the entire year. Certainly, it is illegal to use public funds, including the LifeMed funds, for political or PAC expenses anticipated and advocated by the Terrell Group in the amounts of $20,000, $36,000, or $46,000. Certainly, in order to avoid personal liability, you will want to make sure that you do your own fundraising of private funds. Perhaps you will be willing to donate to the levy renewal campaign using your own funds or funds from the union. When you advertised the LifeMed program, you never advertised or suggested that you would co-opt these funds for a levy renewal campaign. Using LifeMed funds, as was mentioned in the previous board meeting, exposes each of you to personal liability. So please be careful. If you illegally use these funds, you will simply create a greater loss in the LifeMed accounts, and this will need to be backfilled or subsidized by taxpayer funds and patient revenues. Thank you.
Okay. Now moving on, we have some clinical excellence awards, and Chief Ops Chief House is going to present those. Go ahead, Matt.
Thanks, Chief. In the board packet, there is a letter from Dr. Foster and a letter from Captain Mullins recognizing Tom and Don for extraordinary care for a patient. And I'm going to briefly read the story of what happened so we all understand and why we're giving them a Clinical Excellence Award for exceptional patient care and advocacy. On October 12th, paramedic Tom Kozlowski and EMT intermediate Don Quinn responded along with SVFR to New Friends for difficulty breathing. Upon arrival, paramedic Kozlowski and intermediate Quinn and SVFR Captain Gray worked through the patient complaints with New Friends staff. The patient had recently been admitted to hospice. However, New Friends had not received any medications necessary to address the patient's pain. Paramedic Kozlowski, Quinn, and Gray all identified this problem, then began to think outside the box for the best patient care. After much discussion and coordination, Dr. Foster at Peace Harbor Hospital was contacted to see if the hospital could prescribe pain medications for this patient that was in extreme pain. It was determined that the patient would have to be registered at Peace Harbor Hospital for Dr. Foster to dispense pain medications for this hospice patient. The patient was loaded up, transported to the emergency department at Peace Harbor Hospital from New Friends, and remained on the ambulance gurney bays. Dr. Foster met our crew out in the ambulance bays. The patient remained in our ambulance. The patient was registered quickly. Pain medications were prescribed. Dr. Foster requested that paramedic Kozlowski give pain medications to the patient prior to placing the patient back at New Friends. This would keep the patient comfortable until the hospice nurse could work through the rest of the logistics at New Friends. The patient was transported back to New Friends, transferred into the hospital bed from our staff. The pain medications and written orders from Dr. Foster were all transferred to the hospice nurse. This exemplary care is why paramedic Tom Kozlowski and intermediate Don Quinn and Captain Gray are being recognized for Clinical Excellence Award. And on the meeting today, we have Don for this particular call. Unfortunately, Kozlowski and Gray were out on vacation. Good job, guys. Everybody's muted and they are applauding you. The second incident was a motor vehicle accident that was over about 180 foot to 200 foot embankment. These particular individuals that responded to the call, Laura Olson, she's a dispatcher, she's present. And she can very much say whenever we have these calls flood our dispatch center and they have to do a lot of work to make sure that everything gets done. PJ was on this call as well. Paramedic Mackenzie was on this call. And again, there was some people that are not on the Zoom meeting that were attended this call. So summarizing this call, paramedic Mackenzie, Jeff Cott, and Rob Chance arrived at the patient, identified the patient was unresponsive in critical condition. Along with Size Valley Fire Rescue, they extricated the critical patient onto a long backboard, then onto a Stokes carrying device. Duty Chief Spinner was coordinating with dispatcher Laura Olson with search and rescue teams from Lincoln County and Lane County. Given the location of the incident, radio communications to say were very difficult. And I'm sure Laura would shake her head very emphatically with this. And that's something that we worked through, and they did a great job working through this. So with the difficult radio communications, crews identified the best way to safely carry the patient. The critical patient was down a hill about to Highway 101. Paramedic Mackenzie and paramedic Chance, firefighter Yo, engineer Cristiani hiked the patient out on the Stokes over dense brush to the determined Highway 101 location, which is about a quarter of a mile to half a mile, and that's the guesstimation. The patient was transferred to the medic unit, transported to Peace Harbor Hospital, where Reach received the patient and transferred to River Bend. Paramedic Mackenzie, Rob Chance, engineer Pablo Cresciani, firefighter Jim Yao, duty chief Mike Spinner, and dispatcher Laura Olson are all being recognized for Clinical Excellence Award for exemplary performance and life-saving efforts on this call. Thank you very much. You guys did a phenomenal job on this rope rescue call.
Very hard.
Unfortunately, I've been on one of these calls. They are very labor intensive, very strenuous. They are time consuming, takes a lot of efforts. I'd like to also point out that these calls are extremely difficult, requires a high level of team effort to complete correctly and safely. This incident is a perfect example of how recent interagency training has produced these results.
Thank you, Chief House. Yeah, we do get a little spoiled at the level of care that our people provide, but it's nice to recognize them. And I do appreciate you bringing those to us. So moving on the agenda, consent agenda. Are there any requests to move anything out of the proposed consent agenda? Hearing none, we'll adopt the consent agenda consisting of the meeting minutes from the regular meeting of July 22nd and a special meeting for the Western Lane Ambulance District of August 10th. Staff reports from the Fire and EMS Chief, the Ops Chief, the Office Manager, and the Fire Marshal, and some correspondence. And we can move on to a review of the monthly financials. Dina.
Well, I really don't have anything to report otherwise, other than that this is the first month into the new fiscal year, all the reports that you have. We have the new budgets uploaded. We have a large variety of reports for, as you well know, board members, and normally they take about 32 pages of the board packet. One thing that I will come back to visit next month is a proposal to maybe reduce the amount of financials to a balance sheet and a budget versus actual. But I'll go into that a little bit more next month. I would like for all the directors to really look at the financials and see what they want to have in the board packet every month. And because we already have board members coming in that were appointed to be secretary treasurer who are reviewing the bank statements every month, and they could easily review transaction lists and MasterCard statements as well. So I just want the board to think about that. We will be coming back next month with a proposal, and it's totally up to the board on what financial reports you want in the board packet every month. With that, I open it up for any questions if anybody has one.
Any questions from?
Just a comment about our financials and the way we spend money. I just want everybody to know that's listening and all board members, if there is any doubt ever what Western Lane Ambulance District does and how we spend our money, the chief and ops chief, Matt House and Dina, always check with legal counsel to be sure we are spending money appropriately. So if people want to sue us because they think we're not doing what's right, let it be. We're doing what's correct, folks. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Director Burns, you had a comment?
On behalf of the fire department, just if you have a question, and for me, Dina, I don't need 32 pages at all. If it balances out, and I think from time to time, it's wise to have a little bit more, but not on a monthly basis.
Well, I think from the financial people that are on the board is probably sufficient for the detailed analysis of it.
And at any time of the year, if there's additional reports, all you have to do is ask, and we'll consider, if we can do that for you. So we certainly will. Any other comments on the financials? Okay, thank you, Dina. Move on to old business. And this has been old business for quite a while. But we've been talking about expanding the authority. And on the agenda bill, I put in an excerpt from the IGA. And so this was anticipated when the IGA was approved, which went into effect October 2019, is that, our next step would be to, first step was to move admin to the authority. Second step would be to move operations. And it's interesting that it comes at a time right now. We find that we are really struggling with some staffing issues on the ambulance side. We have a medic that's on a leave of absence, a 1-year leave of absence. We've got a medic that's out with an injury, probably for about 8 months. We've got a medic on maternity leave. And of course, we have a lot of vacations during the summer. So our minimal staffing is okay. It's these surge events that we've had to rely on the fire department. It's worked out really well. Matt's done a fantastic job of mixing and moving people where he needs them to be. So I think it makes sense to staff to have operations under the authority. And that's what we're presenting tonight. We'd like the board to approve that, where we would move all operations people. So from fire and ambulance under the authority. We've done this before with admin folks, so we know what to do and how to do it, or Dina does. She's the one that has to do all the heavy work. We feel that a July 1, 2022 date works for us. That's the beginning of our fiscal year. We can set everything up, get everything in motion. We could do it whatever date the board decide. If they do decide to do that, we could certainly, we're flexible on that. That's just the date that works best with us. The other option is to go with if you want to put a workshop together where we can have board members, we can talk about it some more. We can go over the information that's already been presented, and we're happy to do that. But those are the two options we'd like the board to consider. And I know we've talked a lot about it. I'm not going to go into detail. I'm not going to show any data. I certainly could at a workshop, but I think you've seen it all. And that's how the staff feels. But we'll open it up to input from the directors. And Director Webb, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, Chief. Personally, I think since we have so many new directors, it might be good to have a workshop so we know the pros and cons as to why we're choosing to go this direction before we take any formal action.
Sure, okay. Any other director comments?
John had his hand up, Chief.
Okay, John.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. I think it'd be good to have a workshop so we can also discuss how we're going to go about WLFEA billing Western Lane Ambulance District and Siuslaw Valley Fire. I think they should do something like send us a monthly statement of what we owe them, and then we pay them. That way we can assure there's no commingling of money and that we just get a bill. And essentially WLFEA is going to be a contractor hired by Western Lane Ambulance District and Siuslaw Valley Fire to manage our personnel and to manage our operations. And they will send us a statement, what that costs, and then we'll pay the bill. So I think we ought to iron all of that out in a workshop so the public knows how we're doing it.
Okay. 2 for a workshop.
This is Sam. I concur too. I think that's a good idea to have the workshop.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a workshop would help me as well.
Is there anybody that doesn't want a workshop? Okay, I think that's enough. Then we'll work on scheduling a workshop. Oh, Director Polisi, your hand is up.
No,
are you voting?
I agree with the other directors. Let's have a workshop and, you know, make it go forward and vet it all out. But I also want to compliment both agencies for working well together and don't stop. That was evident by what happened on the Dairy Queen fire, as well as the recent.
I locked the speaker.
So let's keep going forward. Matt, keep doing the good job you guys are doing.
Thanks, Jim. Other comments from anybody? Okay, I think Dina and I and Matt will work on setting up workshop days. We'll reach out to directors and find out your availability. I assume that it would be separate from the board meeting, so on a different date, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, but I don't know how long a workshop could take several hours. But we'll,
I think it should be a separate day.
Okay. Yeah, we'll reach out and get some availability for people. Okay, going on to new business. First one is Western Lane Ambulance District action item, and Chief House is going to present that. You're muted, Matt. There you go.
There we go. So the AccuVein Finder's agenda item, AccuVein Finder 500 replacement. Tom Kozlowski does a lot of our purchasing for small equipment. He brought to my attention that we had 3 of them that are broken. So I asked them to start reassessing what do we need to replace them. So the current vein finders that we use are used for approximately over a decade and are reaching the end of life and service life. Several of the vein finders are broken, malfunctioning, which is only leaving us 2 left for our units. AccuVein is offering a rebate for the 3 broken and obsolete models to Westland Ambulance District that is currently possessing. A part of the bidding process, multiple bids were requested to determine the best use of funds when replacing it. And I listed 4 different options with Tom on the breakdown. And consensusly, we thought that option number 1 was the best value for the district. That would be able to replace all 5 of the devices, and all of our ambulances would be stocked with the AccuVein finders. So that is the recommendation, is to approve a capital purchase to replace all of our AccuVein finders with option number 1. The price was $15,805 coming out of capital. That is in summary of it. It's also in the board packet. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer any.
Questions, or we'll entertain a motion?
I'd make the motion to approve.
Mike Webb was first. I'll take you as a second, John.
Thank you.
Okay. Discussion. And this is, Mike, this was to approve option 1?
Option 1, correct.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve option 1 for a cost of $15,800. Holly, can you do a roll call vote? Western
Director Webb.
Yes.
Director Murphy.
Yes.
Director Russell.
Yes.
Director Holbrook.
Yes.
Director Buss.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Our next one is for SVFR directors, and it's to approve a memorandum of understanding for firefighter, paramedic, and firefighter intermediate. Those are paramedic and intermediate are advanced EMS certifications, which we've never had before. Those are considered new positions for us. So we looked into doing a memorandum of understanding with the union. We feel that they should have, there should be a wage incentive, and looking at what is done by other departments, looking at the average. I've taken away the, we normally give an incentive for an associate's degree. An associate's degree is required for paramedic. So that's included in the paramedic incentive. So they wouldn't get the associate's incentive and the paramedic. So we're proposing 10% of base wage bonus for firefighters obtaining and holding a state of Oregon paramedic certification, and a 5% base wage bonus for firefighters obtaining or holding a state of Oregon EMT intermediate or EMT advanced certification. That would be at a cost for this year, fiscal year, $17,203. We don't need an appropriation. We have room in our salaries. We didn't start our new people until later in the fiscal year, so we have room. So this would still be, it would be accounted for in our current salary budget. So questions or a motion? So we're looking for a motion. Okay, is this a motion to approve option 1 as well as the memorandum of understanding with IMF Local 851?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Jim. Is there a second?
Second. Spade.
Second by Director Spade. Holly, can you do a roll call vote?
Director Polisi.
Yes.
Director Spade.
Yes.
Director Burns.
Yes.
Director Mendolia.
Yes.
Director Heppel.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, directors. And Director Burns, we'll need you to come in and sign the MOU or initial it. Thank you. So our next agenda item is about Lexipol policies. And we're asking the board, SVFR board, and Western Ambulance District boards to adopt and hold the Lexipol policies. These are subscription-based policies that we purchased from a company called Lexipol, and we've talked about it many times over the last year or so. They provide you with policies that are designed for your area of the country, so your state. They update you constantly. If state regulations change, they give you updates to your policies. If federal regulations change, they give you update to your policies. And you can update your policies as you will throughout the year. The policies were reviewed and edited by a committee consisting of employees and volunteers and staff. We've gone through every policy, make sure that it meets our requirements. At the very beginning of the process, we did a match with all existing policies to make sure that everything is covered in Lexipol. And where we had to add new policies, we did, or where we wasn't covered in Lexipol, we made sure that was put in. So what we'd like to do going forward is to adopt the policy manual as provided by Lexipol. We don't need to do that for Western Lane Fire and EMS Authority. The authority has agreed to go under whatever policies SVFR is under. So we'll need both districts to adopt those policies. I have put copies into the onboard resources. I can certainly send you a copy if you would like as well. So questions about Lexipol?
But Chief Schick, that's like you and I were talking about it. That is something that they stay current and everything and tell their members what it is, what they need to do is keep them current with their employees and policies.
Exactly. So yeah, anything that comes through the state, they have people that write it, and Jim can give us a little bit more background. He's actually been involved in writing some of the fire prevention policies, but they have experts, subject matter experts that write these. I have used Lexipol in my position in Washington. It's a good outfit.
Yeah, Chief, I will comment. Several years ago, while I was still employed as a fire marshal, I was asked to start the prevention piece and investigation piece for Lexipol, just doing the bullet point items to where agencies will build from. And this was about, I don't know, 10, 12 years back. And myself and several other fire marshals got together and we put just a basic fundamental layout for where agencies could build from. Not just prevention, but suppression as well. We did not receive any compensation for it. It was just all agency-based guidance. And from what I've read, they've kept to their promise to what they were, striving to do. So Oregon is on track with what other states have done. And I applaud the chief and staff for going through a major document. It's, 500-600 pages. There is a section in there that I recommend all directors take a good look at because it does deal with directors and what we have to deal with Oregon legislative-wise. But sure. It's a clean document. It spells out everything from what is required, what should be required, shall be required, and at least flexibility for each agency. So picture a big toolbox. You can go in that toolbox and pull out whatever you need for your specific operation and topographical, geographical, and climatic concerns. So it's good. Hey, chief and staff, whoever vetted it, nice job. I read the draft, all 500 plus pages. So good work.
Yeah. And
thank you.
Like I said, these are available online. I think all directors should have received email from Lexipol. If you haven't, you will as soon as we release these. So you can go online and look at these policies whenever you wish. There is a phone app as well that I've used that works pretty well.
Phone app.
Yeah. So Western Lane Ambulance District, how do you feel about adopting Lexipol policies?
I move to adopt the policies as submitted.
Okay, Mike Webb made the motion. I second. Adam Holbrook, seconded. Holly, can you do a roll call vote?
Director Webb.
Yes.
Director Murphy.
Yes.
Director Russell. Director Holbrook.
Yes. Cindy says yes.
Okay. Director Buss.
Yes.
Okay. SVFR directors, same question.
So moved.
Moved by Director Burns. There's a second by
Spade.
Police. Oh, Sam.
Spade. Okay. Holly, another roll call vote.
Director Polisi.
Yes.
Director Spade.
Yes.
Director Burns.
Yes.
Director Mendolia.
Yes.
Director Heppel.
Yes.
Yeah. As I said before, I don't think it's necessary for WLFEA to adopt these policies. We certainly could if the WLFEA directors or if the directors think that's a good thing to do.
What are the pros and cons of it?
It's already been specified by the directors that WLFEA will follow SVFR policies. So they're going to follow it anyway. So really, there's no need to do it. If you guys want to, we can, but I'm not recommending that WLFEA has to adopt. They're going to adopt them anyway. That was probably more confusing than what I meant it to be, but I think we can go on.
When we get the merger, it'll be automatically that they'll come to that under the Lexipol.
They'll automatically, no, as of today, WLFEA will be under those policies because they'll follow whatever SVFR does. If that makes sense. Director Murphy.
For transparency's sake, I think WLFEA should adopt them just so everybody knows that the Western Lane Ambulance Board of Directors agrees with the Siuslaw Valley Board that that's what WLFEA should do.
Okay. So for Western Lane Fire and EMS Authority Directors, could I have a motion to adopt Lexipol policies?
So
Murphy.
Spade.
Second.
Director Spade made the motion. Director Murphy seconded. Holly, can I have a WLFEA roll call?
Director Polisi.
Yes.
Director Murphy.
Yes.
Director Spade.
Yes.
And Director Russell.
I'm not on that board. It is Mike Webb and Director Murphy that are on it for Western Lane.
And I say yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that, Mike. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I bet you're sorry.
Yeah, short meeting today, everybody. That's good. This is, we're moving into director comments. So if you could raise your hand. Director Polisi, I think you had your hand up before, but did you want to say something?
No.
Okay.
I'll lower.
I'd like to say something. I want to congratulate the people who received the award for the Clinical Excellence Award. I think that's really great that the work they do that shows that they go above and beyond what's required. And my congratulations to them personally for the good work that they've done. And also, I'd like to say that I appreciate the words that the Director Murphy made, the comments on our legal responsibilities and the consultation with the legal team to find out if we're doing the right thing with the board, because so many of these items I don't have any clue about what the legality is. So I appreciate the fact that you brought that up and clarified that. That's all I have.
Good point. Other directors. I would like to add one comment. We've just notified by the state that there is a vaccine mandate for all healthcare providers. That includes paramedics and firefighter EMTs. That goes into effect October 18th. So we're 100% vaccinated on the ambulance side, which is fantastic. We're a little bit low on the fire side. So we're working with those individuals. We don't want to lose anybody. We're hopeful that everybody will go through with the vaccination, but if they don't, the state's been very clear about what the consequences are. But just let the directors know we have received that guidance from the state. We are obligated to follow that guidance. It's a $500 per day per violation fine if you don't follow that. So Everybody in the state is worried about this, and we all have to deal with it. But I think this is the mandate that's going to stick now for as far as COVID. So just so you may hear more of this. I said it just came out yesterday, the day before. So we are dealing with the outcome of that. So any comment? Yep, go ahead, Cindy.
The second letter that's in our board packet, the first one's from Dr. Foster. Who is the second letter from? Because it's not signed.
That letter was from Captain Mullins.
Oh, okay. And then also I want to just point out the increase in volume that I think when we do this consent agenda, I missed that. And I think the public needs to be aware of our increase in volume on both fire and ambulance side of the number of transports they're doing and the number of calls they're responding to. And that needs to be pointed out and commended.
July was our busiest month ever. It was incredible. And you know, with our staffing issues at the same time, but the crews did fantastic. Director Murphy, were you waving your hand?
Yeah, maybe we could get Chief House to just pull the call volume portion out of his report in the consent agenda and just submit it to us so we can have it go to public knowledge.
You want him to send it to you?
No, just announce it at our meeting so the public knows what our call volume was.
Oh, sure.
Instead of it just being in the consent agenda, let's make that public knowledge.
Yep, we can do that.
So in that vein, what was it, Matt?
It was 442 calls for last month. We generally average around 320 to 330 on our busy months. It was exceedingly busy. Again, the short staffing as well. 100% staff stepped up to the plate, no complaining, getting the job done. And then on top of it, performing at a high level where we have these great outcomes with great calls too. Absolutely. I will make sure moving forward that the call breakdown is a part of the main part of, we'll figure it out on the agenda.
They do a good job, and they should be recognized. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other director comments? Okay.
Chief, this is Director Buss. And I had a question about the collection status report with the disallowed bars that we have there. Have we ever presented a breakdown on why those items have been disallowed for revenue?
Yeah, we have. Typically, it's a lot of Medicare, Medicaid breakdown, but we can get you a more specific breakdown. But that's the biggest part would be what's allowed by Medicare and Medicaid.
Okay. I think maybe there's an opportunity that we should maybe look at that and drill down on that and see where we may have some opportunity for billing or coding opportunities around that so we can increase that revenue. It's pretty significant.
It is, and that's typically I look for 50% recovery, and we're about 35%, which is strictly due to the age of our population. We have a lot of Medicare eligible patients, and we use System Design West, who is a very well-known billing company. They do an excellent job for us, but no, we've been more than happy. Any revenue that we're missing, I mean, we're always looking for where we can improve, but. I think the vast majority of that would be Medicare and Medicaid, and then of course LifeMed comes into play as well. A good question. We'll look. We can get you some data. Any other comments? Our next board meeting is September 23rd at 6 p.m. We will be in contact with everybody to set up a special workshop for everybody to talk about WLFEA expansion.
Good.
That's it. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.